Hey, Andy here from A La Carte Project, and today we're going to do a bit of a buyer's guide on the Alfa Romeo GTV. Now, one of the things that I noticed when I was buying my GTV is that a lot of the buyer's guides online are already quite old, and many people claim that because these cars are galvanized from the factory, you shouldn't have to worry about rust. And in fact, some of the panels on this are even polycarbonate or some sort of composite material which can't rust anyway. But that's not to say that these won't rust if they have been damaged or if they've been repaired incorrectly. As you can see, my car is extremely straight. It's got a really beautiful shine to that paintwork, that beautiful blue paintwork. It does need a clean, I do apologize for that. But if you look around the arches, you can see no corrosion here. But if you are to look at one of these, do try and check under the sill covers, because sills can really hide a lot of rust. As already mentioned, these front fenders and the clamshell bonnet, that's composite, so you'll have no issues with rust there at all. But do watch out for any dodgy repair work. And as you can see, my car has had a little bit of paint in the past, and we've got a little bit of moisture underneath there that needs fixing. Like any car, try and look underneath the arch covers, ensure there's no rust lurking behind there, and ensure that your wheels are in good condition. Mine have already been reconditioned once, but they do need a good clean. So you can see that the body lines are really good. We've got equal gaps on the doors. Watch out for that, because that's a good telltale sign of any accident damage. Along the boot as well, make sure that the panel gaps are perfect. And if you are looking at one of these for yourself, ensure things like this light bar are in good condition, because they're getting really rare now. Also, watch out for these electric aerials. Original ones are no longer available. If you're going to upgrade to a DAB stereo, it doesn't matter, but for originality, it's nice to have. Another thing to look out for are the Alfa Romeo badges. When they fade, cheap ones can be had for about £10, but they fade really quickly, and original ones can cost up to £80, especially this one on the rear, which swivels around to show the lock. The glass on this car is all unique to this car, so again, make sure there are no chips and cracks, because it could be difficult to source this if you need to replace it. And as you can see on my car, there's a few little marks here and there where the paint needs touching up. So now we've looked at the outside of the car, let's take a look at the inside of the car. And I have to say, the Alfa Romeo GTV still looks pretty decent today, even though it's 20 years old. It's a really stylish looking car with a red leather interior by Momo. If the red isn't for your liking, there are also tan and black leather interiors too. But I really like that red and blue color combination. It looks really smart. Now, although this car is on around 123,000 miles, the condition is really good, and it shows how well these interiors wear. The bolsters on the seat are showing a little bit of sign of wear here, but a little bit of dye, and I'll be able to make them look as good as new. The steering wheel on the GTV is leather covered, and they do wear very well. The dashboard is really simple, and I love that these dials here for temperature, time, and the fuel face towards the driver. Electric mirrors. We have automatic electric windows for both sides, air conditioning. That doesn't work on my model. The GTV has airbags for the passenger and also the driver. You get this beautiful leather interior all the way through the car. The door cards leather, the seat leather, and even the rear seats also leather as well. Although there's not much leg room there. Great for kids, but not so great for adults. And as you can see, all of this glass gives an amazing view of the road. It's probably one of the best cars that I've been in terms of viewing the road and being able to see as you go around corners. Reversing is another matter though. When you turn the car on, you should get all your lights popping up like this. You should see an airbag light there. If that doesn't pop up and go off, have a good look at it. Some people do put tape over those to disguise them, and that is an MOT fail. Now, the airbag lights sometimes can be an issue. Luckily, mine are going off. It can be really easy to fix. Sometimes it's basically just a wire underneath here that is come unclipped or loose, or you can buy a little scanner and you can scan it and clear those codes. It doesn't cost a lot, it's about £90, and on a car like this, it's well worth having. I've upgraded the stereo on my car to an aftermarket unit, which gives me Bluetooth and also a hands-free kit. Now, if you do like music, it's worth knowing that the stereo system in the Alfa Romeo GTV is a bit pants. The speakers are terrible, and even with aftermarket speakers, the sound isn't that great. So I would recommend adding an amp and a sub as well if you really want really good audio. And in fact, the tweeters on the GTV have a tendency of dropping off and falling inside the door cards. These are actually aftermarket models because the car, when I bought this, just an empty hole and the tweeter was sitting inside there. Another thing to look out for is these covers. These tend to fall off, and as you can see, that's pretty loose on mine. But I've used a bit of Velcro to hold those into place. People who are not so careful with their GTVs might slam the door with the seatbelt cord here, and that can cause real damage on here. So if you come to a car with damage there or a hole, you know they've probably slammed their seatbelt into it. These door seals can cost as much as £50. Actually more, £60. And they do fall off. So if you buy a car, or if you're looking at a car and you see that these are missing, factor that into the price. You can see on my car I've actually got a hole in this seal that needs repairing, but I'm not even sure if they're available still. Something that I noticed on my car when I bought it was an awful cracking sound when I opened the door. And this is a common issue with the GTV. And in fact, it is caused by these. These door straps can become worn and loose, and they make a terrible crack. The door is huge, and the noise echoes through that door, and it sounds terrible as you're getting in and out. And the issue is the pin. On earlier models, they used a roll pin, and that roll pin can be pulled out and replaced, and it fixes that, stops any play. On the later models like mine, you have to replace the whole door strap, and they're quite difficult to find. They're really easy to fit, but they can cost as much as £80 if you do find one. Now, some people have discovered that you can use a combination of your old door strap and something from a Fiat Doblo, I believe, combine those together to make like a hybrid door strap. Another issue with my car is this is broken away. I need to either replace it or fix in some more little tabs here so that hooks into place. While we're inside the car, I'll also mention a common fault on these cars can be the handbrake. And in fact, my car failed its MOT multiple times because the handbrake wouldn't operate. You can adjust the handbrake really easily by removing this cover, and then you have a 13mm spanner underneath. But if you come to a car and the handbrake isn't perfect, isn't locking the back wheels up, it could mean that you'll either need a brand new handbrake cable fitting, which is not particularly expensive, or another issue can be the rear pistons can seize on, or even the springs on there can become weak. It's not a particularly difficult job, any of it. It's just going through each problem systematically till you find it out. Okay, so that's the interior of the Alfa Romeo GTV. But what about the boot? With the engine off, what we can do is we can open the glove box, and there's a secret button just here, and that opens the boot. The boot itself is pretty small. The suspension takes up a lot of room in these, but there's enough room in there for a spare wheel, the official Alfa Romeo toolkit in there, and I've also got jump leads because this is an Italian sports car. It probably will need jump leads. The battery is in the boot of the Alfa Romeo GTV, and to get at it, you use these two tabs. You undo that, and you get to your battery. We've also got this really neat little area here. It's a really cool storage space, perhaps a good spot for a sub or something. And one thing that you can see here are the struts that hold the boot open. Those struts on my car do need replacing, but I've already sourced new ones from a company called SGS. Anyone who's wondering what this might be, well, Alfa Romeo obviously realized that sometimes their cars can go wrong. And if you want to open the fuel filler cap, normally you would use this button. And as you can see, it opens up. But if that fails, one thing to look out for as well while we've got the boot open is moisture. Now, again, with any car, you should always check the bottom here. And as you can see, there's actually water here. You can actually see there's some water in here. That actually isn't a leak, it's condensation. What tends to happen, especially in winter, you get a lot of condensation building up in these, and it fills up the bottom with water. But it's worth checking if you are buying one of these, lift up the carpets, make sure that there's no rust in there. Now, if you want to have a look inside the engine bay, it's really easy to get in there. Underneath the steering wheel, we have a lever, which is just here. And that pops open the bonnet. And it's a massive clamshell polycarbonate bonnet. I think it's polycarbonate. I don't think it's fiberglass. One thing that's interesting is the GTV has twin headlamps for both sides, left and right, but when you open up the car, the bonnet, you can see it's a giant light that is split into two. And once you're in there, you can see this 2-litre Twinspark unit. So even with the 2-litre engine in there, there's not a hell of a lot of room in there. There's plenty of room in there for general servicing and getting at certain things, but some jobs can be really complicated. So for example, alternators on this era of Alfa Romeo can cause issues, and if you do need to replace one on a 2-litre car, you can bring the engine forward and get at it from the back, or you can go underneath and get at it. But the alternator is all the way back here. It's not easy to get at. As you can see, there's not much room here. So if you are looking at a car that seems to have an alternator issue, do factor that into the cost. Another thing that you should factor into the cost is a cam belt change if it hasn't already been done. Twin cam engines need their cam belts doing quite regularly. It's always worth doing, making sure that it's been done on time. If you start your engine up and you have like a ticking or slight squeaking sound coming from around this area on the Twinspark engines, it's probably your variator, and as you're having your cam belt done, it's worth getting that changed at the same time. 3-litre V6 cars don't have a variator, so if you have that sound, it's something else. Another thing to be wary of on these is that the slave cylinder, which sits on top of the gearbox down here, I don't know if you can just see it, it's just about there, they can just leak. So, you know, don't be surprised if you come home one day and you find a puddle of brake fluid or .4 underneath your car like I did. Basically, it just gave up and just leaked everywhere. It's a really easy thing to change. It's about £35 for the slave cylinder. When you're buying a GTV or any car for that matter, always check that the oil is clean, check that the oil has been changed on time, and they're using a good quality oil. Also, it's also always worth checking underneath the oil cap for mayonnaise. And what we mean by mayonnaise is a mixture of water and oil, which can sometimes show that there's a head gasket failure or issue. Not always. While you're at it, check that your water or your coolant is topped up properly, your brake and clutch fluid is topped up, and your power steering fluid is all topped up. The dipstick is here, really easy to get hold of. Things to look out for when you're underneath here as well, rust and corrosion across the slam panel. I'm pretty lucky, this one's in good condition. Also check the top of the struts for corrosion. I've got a bit of surface rust here that needs cleaning up. And if you can, try and remove these black panels with just a couple of screws. And you can see, here you go, I've got a bit of bubbling going on there. These can hide a bit of surface corrosion, and this does need doing. It's not structural or anything, but it's one of those things, if you don't sort it out now, it's only going to get worse. Alfa obviously know we're going to be working on this car, so they've given you a little spot to hold everything. I don't know if that's actually for that or not, but that's what I use it for when I'm working on my car. And as you can see, I've got a strut brace on mine. That came on the car when I bought it. Another thing to be wary of is Twinspark engines do tend to use a lot of oil. Well, not a lot. They can use a lot of oil. This one uses a little bit of oil, so it's always worth checking. My GTV has had a few modifications, nothing in terms of the engine performance, but we've got the larger Alfa Romeo wheels on here. They're really nice. These are the typical teledial wheels. Someone's painted the calipers green. It's also been lowered as well on a slightly lowered suspension, and that really improves the handling of the car, and it looks really good too. Another thing that this car has had is a custom stainless steel exhaust, and we've also got updated bushings on the suspension too. So this is the Alfa Romeo GTV Twinspark. It's a 2-litre Twinspark engine with around 150 to 155 brake horsepower. And this is all standard except for that fruity stainless steel exhaust. It's also been lowered and it's on slightly larger wheels than standard too. Now, the 2-litre Twinspark isn't quite as desirable as the 3-litre GTV with the Busso engine, but that V6 engine weighs a lot more than this 2-litre unit, and that makes this a little bit more agile on the corners and a lot of fun. Combine that with that really sorted suspension and that passive rear wheel steering kinematics on the rear, and you've got a car that can handle really nice twisty terrain, and it's just a joy to drive. The 2-litre Twinspark is a 5-speed manual. It revs to 7,000 RPM, and it really is a fun car to drive. I've also got an Alfa Romeo 156 GTA Sportswagen. Now that car has a lot more power, almost 100 horsepower more, and a hell of a lot more torque. but I have to say the GTV is so much more fun to drive. It feels a little bit more involved, and you definitely feel the payback from revving that little engine so much more. The V6 is a little bit lazy with its torque, but the 2-litre engine really wants you to keep revving the engine and get you around those corners. It's a little beast. So we're currently on the Snake Pass, which is a really good driving road here in Derbyshire. And I'm not sure if you can hear that, but there's a little bit of wind noise coming from the driver's side door. I'm not sure if a seal has popped off. That's one of those things that we've already talked about earlier on in the video. Those seals do disappear, and I wonder, while I've been showing you on video, maybe I've not one and it's dropped off. Anyway, this road is absolutely fantastic. Even at a leisurely 50 miles an hour, which is the speed limit, it's so much fun to drive. And it really is eager to do more. I'd love to get this car on track and see what it's really capable of. The brakes, they're pretty good. I mean, it's not a particularly heavy car. That engine helps with the lightweight, with the maneuverability, but it also improves that braking performance. I think if it had a V6 engine in it, I'd definitely want a bit more bite on the brakes. Handling is beautiful. The car stays really level in the corners. I mean, that's helped because the suspension has been lowered on this, and it also has aftermarket bushings as well to stiffen things up. But it's not overly stiff. It's still a very, very comfortable drive. And it's so much fun in these corners. You can really push it. It's so good. You wouldn't think that this is a 20-year-old car. And in fact, I'm surprised that these aren't already more popular than they are. We see a lot of classic car shows the Fiat Coupe, which is based on the same platform with a slightly different back end. Obviously the Fiat comes with that fantastic 20-valve turbo engine. But I've got to say the GTV is just more handsome, it's better looking. And I can't understand why people aren't already clambering over themselves to pick one up. I've seen these on sale on Facebook Marketplace and even Auto Trade for as little as £500. And if you go on the Alfa Romeo GTV groups on Facebook, you can easily pick one up for around 1,600 quid with MOT. And 3-litre cars for as little as £3. Now, I paid a little bit over the odds for this. I paid £3,500, which is a lot of money for a 2-litre car that isn't currently very desirable. But I don't really regret it. It's a really sorted car. It handles beautifully. It looks really well. It's extremely well presentable. The interior is still really good condition. And although it's got 122,000 miles on the clock, the engine is crisp and powerful. I'm really happy with this car. And overall, it's been really reliable. All these nightmare stories of Alfa Romeos being unreliable really are blown out of proportion. Like any car of this age, you look after it and it will look after you. What a great car. Now let's have a look at the corrosion areas. Like I said, the bodywork on these is usually pretty good as long as it hasn't had any dodgy repairs, but you can find rust on these. Now I'm going to try and show you with the GoPro, and if it doesn't work I'll show you some photos. But generally what you need to look at is along these sills, try and remove these covers, see if there's any issues with rust behind there. Also check the jacking points and make sure that these sills haven't been crushed at all. Mine had been crushed here, you can see, by someone being careless with it, and it's had to be repaired. It's just a cosmetic thing, it's not a structural thing. Now in terms of rust, on my car, I found the rust was back here. I don't know if you can see this, but generally there are holes along here which are drain plugs and they've got a rubber grommets in them, and they can rust along there. Mine was totally gone, so I've had to have a complete new panel put on there. But the rest of the floor is in really good condition. So if you're looking for something that looks great, handles really well, is easy to work on, well, relatively easy to work on, I wouldn't pass up a chance of owning a GTV. They look great, they're quite usable, they're pretty good on fuel, and honestly, I can't imagine them getting any cheaper. I hope you enjoyed my Alfa Romeo GTV buyer's guide, well, buyer's guide, I suppose. I hope you enjoyed listening to my stories of owning my car. And if you have any questions or you feel I've missed anything in this video, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. If you're with me and you love the look of the GTV, please give me a thumbs up. It'd be awesome if you subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Thanks again, guys. Bye-bye.